Hello. Today we're going to learn how to transform or convert degrees into radians, okay? So a little bit about radians. It's just another form of measurement on a degree. So think about it kind of like when we measure distance. We can measure distance in feet and miles. It's the same distance, it's just a different unit. Same thing with this one, 45 degrees, and we can put that into a radian, which we'll learn what a radian that is equivalent to. They're the same distance. Okay, so let's figure out what the radian measurement is of 45 degrees. So we always want to multiply by a combination of pi's and 180s, okay? When we have radians, our answers are going to have pi's in the answer, okay? And it's really important to see that this pi, when we're talking about radians, does not equal 3.1415, blah, 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 okay? In trig land, pi, so pi is a radian, pi does equal 180 degrees in trig world. Okay, so whenever we see 180 degrees, when we're talking about sines, cosines, tangents, unit circles, all of these things that are coming up, it's not pi 300 or 3.14, it's pi 180 degrees. So let's get this 45 into a radian, which is a pi term. Pi we want in the numerator. It does not make sense for pi to be in the denominator, okay? Think about, let's go back to just basic number sets. When we were talking about number sets on like classifying if it's a real, irrational, an integer, all those fun things, right? If we had, let's say 2 over 5.2, this makes 0 sense to have a fraction and a decimal, which is essentially a fraction, right? A fraction within a fraction. That doesn't make sense. So we would have to do some simplification to get this to be out of here. Well, think about pi is also, it's a transcendental number, right? And it doesn't make sense for those 3.1415 to be in the denominator. If you think about pi as 3.1415, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't make sense for pi to be in a final answer as a degree in the denominator. It doesn't make sense. So we want to really, if this was like 5.2 over 2, we could easily change that into a decimal, right? A nice pretty number. This with it in the denominator doesn't make sense. Okay, so we want degrees into radians. Radians, we do want the pi on top. So let's multiply 45 times pi is on top. Well, pi is also equal to 180 degrees. So this is looking kind of weird, but pi over 180 is 1 because we said that pi is equivalent to 180 degrees. We can multiply anything by 1 and still get its original value out, right? So if I said 7 times 5 over 5, well, 5 over 5 is 1. I still get 7 out. Doesn't matter what it is, it's 1. It's not going to change that outside value that we're multiplying by. Okay, so that's kind of the why behind that piece. So when we multiply fractions, we need to multiply straight across. Remember, if there's no denominator, you can always just throw a 1 under there. That's totally fine. 45 times pi is 45 pi. 1 times 180 is 180, okay? So now if you kind of see, we got this 45 and 180. We can reduce that. So let's go ahead and reduce that. Let me show you a handy dandy little trick on your calculator here. I don't know if you guys know this one yet. You could put 45 divided by 180, and you get that nasty little decimal. Actually, that's not too nasty, is it? But we get this decimal. If you guys pushed math, and do you see that first arrow fraction? That means it's going to take the last decimal or whatever in your calculator and make it into a fraction if it can. So we're just going to go ahead and push math, and then we're going to push enter. So it says taking that last number and putting it into as a fraction. And oh my gosh, look at that. It's a fourth. Mathematically, it turned in a decimal into a fraction, okay? So you can use your calculator on some of these. If that helps you, go for it. If not, we can just look at these and say 5 and 0. Those are both divisible by 5. So we're going to divide 45 by 5. That's 9. And if we divide 180 by 5, we get 36. 9 and 36, those are divisible by each other as well. So 9 goes into 9 one time. 9 goes into 36 4 times. So we get pi over 4. So 45 degrees is equal to pi over 4 radians. And you can put a radian in there if you want. But because we have a pi in there, it automatically tells us radians. Okay, that's the unit, just like degrees here is radians. So you don't need to put the radian piece in there. Okay. All right, now let's look at this guy. If we had 9 pi over 4 and we wanted to convert that to a degree. Remember, we're talking about pi's and 180s of some sort, right? So it's either pi over 180 is 1, or we can also say that 180 over pi is 1. If we look at this number, which one should we multiply it by to get the pi's to cancel out? So if I were to do 9 pi over 4 times pi over 180, these pi's do not cancel out. We get pi squared. We don't want that. That looks nasty. So we don't want to do that part. Now let's try the other one. 9 pi over 4 times 180 over pi. The pi's would cancel out in this one, right? Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. No more pi's. So now we're at 9 times 180. 1620 over 4. Okay, so just a little bit of a think about. If you can't memorize it, that's fine. Think about it. Does this make sense? Pi? Nope. We want it to cancel out. All right, this is the winner. Okay. All right, so now we have 1620 over 4. We can do that little division and we get 405 degrees. So 9 pi over 4 equals 405 degrees. Ta-da!